There are far too many of you guys out here with this feminine behavior, and it's only becoming more and more ridiculous as time passes. And the worst part of it all is that as you exhibit this feminine behavior, you don't even realize that it's feminine, but it's feminine. And we're going to talk about it. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
Bitch, you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but want a winner's reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these.
Now, one thing I got to make abundantly clear, first and foremost, is that Freeze is not and has never been and will never be a part of the manosphere. No disrespect to anybody that's a part of the manosphere, but Freeze ain't no manosphere guy. Freeze is just Freeze. Freeze is some game, but Freeze ain't part of the manosphere. And the reason why I say that is because as I get off into this video, it's definitely going to be some criticism towards feminism. And when you have criticism towards feminism as a man, oftentimes people automatically assume that you're part of the manosphere, or they just want to toss you in that category. So I just got to make that clear. Freeze ain't no manosphere dude, right? But a lot of y'all guys got these feminine ways, man. And I really believe a big part of it, a big part of the reason why is because y'all in need of a male figure in your life. Y'all need an uncle. So Freeze gonna be the uncle that you never had, man. That you always needed to have, that you never had. You got Uncle Freeze now, man. So Uncle Freeze gonna break this game down to you. You dig? Now, I spoke about a lot of these things on a live that I did a few days ago, but I'm doing this video to break it down and give it in a summarized form for the people who don't like the long form content, right? So as I broke down in the previous live video, a lot of you guys that were born from 1998 on up into the 2000s, y'all really didn't have any choice but to have all these feminine characteristics, because within your time, the strongest influence in your life has mostly been rooted in feminism. If it's not directly feminism, it's something that's an offspring of feminism. And see, speaking of offsprings of feminism, one thing that those people have gotten excellent at is making their, other people's causes their fight. Feminists have gotten excellent at making black people's fight their fight, and most effectively, and they kind of really go hand in hand, but most effectively, they've made the LGBTQ fight their fight. So a lot of things that you see that have to do with that, or a lot of things that you see that have to do with black people, fighting for certain things, or even most recently this whole DEI thing. And I don't really try to get too far into the politics, that ain't really my thing, but with the whole DEI thing, they've made that a black fight, and it's not really a black fight, but all of it is rooted in feminism. But I say all of that to say, again, back to the people who've been born from 1998 on up, a lot of y'all, your strongest influence is either an offspring of feminism or direct feminism. So within all of that, this all started, the ball really, as far as these modern times, the ball really got rolling around 2012, and by 2016 it was a runaway train, right, as I've said before. And it's gotten to a point now where a lot of you dudes, y'all be having this fake outrage, and it's just ridiculous, and you got all these feminine ways, and it's just ridiculous, right? Like, for instance, a lot of things that y'all do, you don't even realize that it's rooted in feminism. Like, for instance, all of these Shade Room and Hollywood Unlocked, and all these different platforms, right? Really rooted in feminism. And whenever they post something that makes a man into a monster, a lot of you dudes flood the comments worse than the women do with criticism towards whatever man is being polarized into this, monster type figure. If they post something about Puffy, it's mostly men in the comment section going in on him. If they post something about R. Kelly, it's mostly men in the comment section going in on him. Now, if you don't agree with Puffy's ways, if you don't like Puffy, if you don't like R. Kelly, that's one thing. But to just constantly, put so much effort into bashing somebody like that, that's not no manly thing to do. Women, feminists in particular, influence you to be that way. They put that in you. But you're not supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to take every opportunity you get on the internet to just bash another man, whether you agree with him or not. That's just not what we do. It's not, that's a feminine thing to do. And that's what a lot of y'all guys got bad. And it's almost as if you can't wait for certain posts to be made so that you can flood the comment section. And a lot of y'all do this because within that influence, you do it because you think that this is what women want you to do. You do it for the approval of women. But what you don't understand is that real women are not going to approve of that. Any woman that's worth having is not going to approve of you acting like her in order to get her approval. No. You got a lot of y'all got to learn how to be men. I would say all over again, but a lot of y'all never even learn how to be men. But speaking of that, let me break that part down, right? Before we go further. On one hand, like I said, you got you dudes that was born after 1998. They really didn't have a chance, and your manhood is rooted in feminism. But then you have guys that are older. You have guys that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, who have these same influences that have taken over them to the point where they got a lot of feminine ways. But the reason why they've been strongly influenced by this is because prior to this whole wave, they didn't know who they were. They never identified themselves as men. They never learned themselves. They never figured out who they are. So social media gave them an identity that they never had, that they always wanted. And what they didn't understand is, you take this identity that social media gave you and it feels good, but it's a lot of femininity in it. And it's not becoming of a man. And the difference with the older guys is if they stop, if they pump their brakes and really think, they'll realize like, hey, this ain't cool. But social media is a mind-altering substance, no different than any other. In fact, it's probably stronger than any other mind-altering substance. So a lot of these dudes are under the influence of social media so deeply, they'll never even figure out what's going on. It feels good to act like a woman on social media, especially when you get attention for it. But a lot of you dudes got it bad, man. And it's to a point where women complain about a lot of you guys, right? And they don't even understand that they're the reason why you guys are the way that you are. And as I've said before, feminism has pushed things so far that they couldn't have even predicted. When they started pushing things in this direction, they couldn't have even predicted it getting to the point that it's gotten to. And now that it's gotten to this point, they don't even understand where everybody is. They don't understand where they are. They don't understand where we are. They don't understand what's going on. And they don't understand how they're the cause of what's going on. Like all of these soft ass men out there, or males, soft ass males out there with feminine type ways. Now you got all these women complaining about these dudes. Oh, these guys ain't this and these guys ain't that, and they don't have their stuff together, and they lazy, they irresponsible, or you got so many guys that be in deep depressions and things like that. Feminism gave birth to these guys. Feminism created these guys. So you same women that shoved feminism down everybody's throats to the point where now, we don't even, that's another result of feminism in today's times. We really don't even have a First Amendment right anymore on social media. You can't even talk the way you want to talk. You got to use words like ninja and pew pew and grape and all these stupid ass words when you're talking to other adults. I'm 43 years old. It's a damn shame that as a 43-year-old man, I can't get on here and talk the way that I want to talk with other adults, people older than me, adults that are younger than me, same age as me. We all adults, but we can't talk the way that we want to talk. Why? Because again, rooted in feminism, people complaining and saying that they being discriminated against, and it's like these are just like regular words. You got unalive. That's another stupid term that we got to use. Unalive. But all of the complaining, it turned all of these social media platforms into people pleasers. And what these platforms wasn't thinking about when they got into the business of people pleasing is that you can't please everybody. So in effort to please everybody, like anything that can be perceived as a bad word, you can't even say it. Or anything, I get hate speech. That's one thing, but particular words, it doesn't even matter what context you use them in. Just any, particular words just can't be used. And it's crazy. Even if you're using it in a positive context or an uplifting context, it don't matter. You just can't use certain words. Give you a prime example of how ridiculous things are, right? I was live on Instagram one time and I had 2 people added to my live, and a guy was going in on the woman that I had added to the live, right? He going in on her. He roasting her, blasting her, and she's sitting there, she laughing at it while he's going in on her, right? But in the midst of him going in on her, he suggested that she, do this with some bleach. So when he said that, I'm hosting a live, but I got my microphone muted and I'm dying laughing the whole time, right? So when he said that, I typed it in the chat and said LOL. Instagram blocked me for repeating what he said about her doing this with some bleach. For me typing that in the chat, Instagram blocked me from going live for 24 hours. Right? But again, there's a lot of you feminine type dudes out there that fuel things becoming this way. Because like I said, that's one thing feminism has become excellent at, is making other people's fight their fight, or, influencing other people to take on their fight with them. Sometimes not with them, right? So within that, they've influenced a lot of you guys to take on their fight to the point where it's so ridiculous. Like, you got guys on platforms debating with other guys, speaking on women's behalf. It's ridiculous. As if women can't speak for themselves. They already speak too much for their damn self. in the worst of ways. But you got these dudes on these platforms doing that. But back to the last topic I was just getting into, as far as, you know, how we don't have our First Amendment right really anymore on social media. It's largely in part due to a lot of you guys, as well as, you know, the women in the first place, but a lot of you guys doing the same thing and, you know, complaining and crying about everything. And now we can't even talk the way that we want to talk. Regular TV wasn't even nearly this censored back in the day when, you know, we had just regular TV. You know, you couldn't curse on there. You couldn't use curse words, but it wasn't nearly as censored as social media is now. But, you know, and a lot of, you know, you have certain people that'll say, oh, well, you know, a part of the reason why things are censored is because advertisers, you know, won't want to monetize on certain content if the language is too vulgar or whatever the case may be. That's bullshit, because, you know, you can use certain words sparingly, but I don't think advertisers sit there and say, you know what, he said fuck 27 times, so we not gonna mess with him. If he would only said it 23 times, you know, with 30-second intervals, you know, we might have, you know, advertised on that but he said it 27 times, so that's just too much. No, they're not doing that, right? And see, before, once upon a time, like in a I say like the mid to the early 2010s, it wasn't like this. We had a lot more liberty to speak the way that we want to speak. But again, all you crybaby ass dudes with these feminine ways, you know, played a major role in things being the way that they are. But I could go on and on, but I just wanted to point out how a lot of you dudes, your manhood is rooted in feminism, and you really should take the time to pay attention and acknowledge that and understand that about yourself, so that you can do something about it. And for the women out there complaining about a lot of these guys, and at the same time you're a feminist, just understand the role that you played in these guys being the way that they are, because you played a major role in these guys being the way that they are. Feminism is the strongest influence in America right now. There's nothing with a stronger influence on everything than feminism. You know, feminism is the reason why, you know, political parties, you know, can't come together. They always bumping heads. You know, this is the reason why political parties have pretty much turned into gangs. Like if you support Trump, then you a op. Or if you support Kamala, you a op. You know, feminism has made it that way. But I could go on and on and on, but the bottom line is, hey man, acknowledge your feminine ways, young man, so that you could do something about it, so you can reverse the curse. You dig? But let that marinate on your mind one time. Freezes it. Go ahead, put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out.
Let's go. You see, the God anointed, game appointed PI since knee high. Knew that God appointed me to be fly. My reply to the blessing, only one decision for me, man, that integrated and demonstrated it's obligatory. Okay. So begins the story, these blessings I'm not in tune with.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Baby, I wait.